I want to show this clip or like this image that Clutch Points put up yesterday. And it says, massive steps. The former Laker young core has come a long way. Shows Julius Randle, who became the NBA All-Star this year. It also shows Jordan Clarkson, who is this year. He just was announced this week.
I think actually Julius Randle was just named Most Improved Player, too.
Oh, so he got 2 awards that we can add to this. But also Brandon Ingram, 2020 NBA All-Star, so that was last season. And also D'Angelo Russell.
A.K.A. the Snitch.
Is that what he's known by?
Yeah, the Snitch.
I never knew his nickname. Like, I always thought of him as something else. Like,
Snitchy
Deloading, McGee. Maybe? That's what I thought. Deloading. 2019 NBA All-Star for D'Angelo Russell. And that's great. Congrats. Hats off. I'm very proud of them. There are Laker fans who, when they look at this, they go, I wish we would have never got rid of that young core. And to which I say, you mean to tell me you never wanted to win a championship? Granted, that's a nice team. Julius Randle is doing great in the Eastern Conference. Brandon Ingram's doing great for the Pelicans. D'Angelo Russell looks good on the team that's about to compete for the number 1 draft pick this season. Jordan Clarkson's great. Finally learning how to be the 6th man of the year. Why? How come he didn't come off the bench and actually provide service like that when he was on the Lakers? And granted, I was on Jordan Clarkson's side because he was the man that was handed the torch. If you remember, Kobe's last assist was to Jordan Clarkson, and that could be a trivia fact for all you Laker fans who also love trivia. Kobe's last assist was to Jordan Clarkson, and a lot of people thought, well, Jordan Clarkson is going to score a lot. He scored more than Kobe Bryant this season. That season, if I'm not mistaken, he led the team. He led the Los Angeles Lakers in scoring. Just for the next season, Luke Walton to come in and be like, no, we're not going to have you starting. We're going to have you come off the bench. I would have had him come straight off starting. Like, I would have just had him in the rotation because he deserves it. He deserves the minutes. But the way that went, that goes to show why Luke Walton's also in Sacramento. Oh, also, massive steps. How come Luke Walton's not on that graphic? How come Luke Walton's not on Clutch Points? What happened? You could have sworn that Sacramento Kings were like actually happy with their coach signing when they got him. What happened to him? Is he doing well in Sacramento? Or is he in the hot seat again? I digress. Anyways, Lakers, Suns, Game 2, tonight, 7 p.m. It will be on an actual network channel, unlike the Clippers, who I believe will be on NBA TV. So that's not even the channel that they wanted to pick. But the Lakers Suns will be on TNT, 7 p.m. Chris Paul is not on the injury report, according to Harrison Fagan. However, Monty Williams did say he is experiencing soreness in his shoulder area that he hurt. LeBron James did not hurt him last game. LeBron James went up for a layup. Chris Paul came down, accidentally bumped into his teammate, Cam Johnson, and then as he was falling, mid-fall from the bump, you could see that he aggravated that shoulder in some capacity. The rest of the game, Chris Paul was not the same dribbling the ball. It almost looked as if like he was back playing Pee-wee basketball. It looked like junior high basketball, maybe even earlier than that. But like he looked like as if he was just learning to dribble. And this is one of the best dribblers that we have today in the game. Chris Paul couldn't hold on to the ball. And I think it was also Bush League because as I was complaining about Cameron Payne in the first segment, what was also Bush League was him and Cameron Payne. What caused the whole incident to happen between Payne and Caruso to go back and forth. Both of them got technicals. Payne actually got ejected. But Chris Paul and Cameron Payne did a lane violation. They stepped across the three-point line. They were early to get the ball. Chris Paul was actually boxing out LeBron James off of the missed free throw. And then like in a wrestling move, it looked as if Chris Paul was about to snap LeBron James's shoulder out of his socket. And a lot of people could have just said, well, he was just trying to, all he was trying to do was just, box him out. Well, he also did this eerily 2 years ago.
Chris Paul, habitual line stepper.
He is a habitual. Thank you, Mike Gary. That's a good point. Chris Paul also tried doing this when he was in the Houston Rockets jersey when the Lakers were playing against LeBron James. That was the same night, if I'm not mistaken, that Rondo and Chris Paul got in each other's faces and like the nose touch, the smack, and then you saw Nipsey was still alive. Nipsey was front row. It looked as if like he had to put his pants up and almost as if he was going to get in it.
And that was the same game when Chris Paul accused Rondo of spitting on him, right?
Yeah, that was the same game. That was the same altercation. So look, Chris Paul, he's a great guy.
Is he?
Love his State Farm commercials. I think he does a lot of good PR, but that's kind of like, imagine Peyton Manning and all the commercials he does. And then as soon as the ref is not turning away, like you see him go up and against opponent and just like step on his foot with his cleat. That's Chris Paul. Chris Paul wants you to think he's a good person. Chris Paul wants to say, hey, I'm looking after the players by being the leader of the Players Association. But he does this stuff. Like how you can go onto YouTube and see all the like little selfish things he does.
I mean, going back to Wake Forest, I mean, actually, I think JJ Redick, showed a clip on his podcast when CP3 came through on his podcast of a clip of them two getting into it back in the Wake Forest days.
Yeah. And look, like, I can understand outgrowing it. I can even understand being like, like it was just competitive. I was in the heat of the moment. But Chris Paul has done this like almost every season.
He's got short man complex.
Does he?
I think so. I mean, he's been undersized pretty much his entire career. He's out there, banging around with 7-footers. I mean, he's probably my height. He's probably 6'2", 6'3", but he plays like a guy with the ultimate chip on his shoulder.
He is 6'2", and like I notice he does do that against largely fellow. Like he doesn't do it against his own point guards. Russell Westbrook will like step face to face to his own point guard. He will even step up to Joel Embiid, which I respect, but he's not going to try on a rebound when Joel Embiid's going for a rebound. He's not going to like grab his arm and then try to rip it out of his socket. That's terrible. I don't think it's become clear this season that a lot of people are very upset with the Lakers and for their own reasons. Solomon Hill, I don't know what his reason was, but he didn't like LeBron James, which is why he not only, they could have been accidental when he was trying to go for the ball across LeBron James's body, across. He had to jump across, and then that's what led to LeBron's injury this season. It could have been coincidental if that was an isolated situation. However, there was a play before that game where he ended up trying to pull a Zaza and put his foot underneath LeBron James's landing spot, and had LeBron James landed the same way Kawhi Leonard did, then who knows what that could have done to LeBron James's career. I mean, we could have like probably seen LeBron James not chase Kareem Abdul-Jabbar as an all-time leading scorer anymore, right? I think there are players, I'm not starting to put on my conspiracy hat, but I do think there are people mad at the Lakers for one reason. I think with Chris Paul, I'm saying separate reasons, however, but for Chris Paul, his situation is back in the bubble. I'm not sure if you remember, but I think Chris Paul goes back to when there is that shooting, Jacob Blake, Milwaukee Bucks versus Toronto Raptors. Milwaukee goes, we're not playing, We're not playing because this was in our area. Kenosha County, like, it's very traumatic. Heck, we have even a teammate that had an incident with the cops. We're not playing. Toronto Raptors were like, this makes us look bad, so we're not playing either. And then other teams were like, thanks, Milwaukee, for not telling us that you're going to do this too. So all the other teams stopped playing. They had that meeting. LeBron James said some things because he was trying to be a leader, but he rubbed people the wrong way. Where, like, if you want to look back to quotes, he said some things that kind of were demeaning to, like, the younger players. He was, like, trying to say, like, we're standing up for you, but, like, it came off more like, I'm better than you. It was, like, the whole interpretation was mixed wrong. However, LeBron James, who was, granted, was a part of the number one seeded Lakers, saying, like, yeah, we're not going to play because he knew that would give him all the leverage. And by LeBron James trying to be the leader of this whole movement, Chris Paul, who is the leader of the Players Association, was very disgusted by LeBron James at that moment. There were reports, there were rumors. LeBron James, Chris Paul, yeah, they're showing the friendly side. They're going like, yeah, they've been going back and forth for a long time. This is actually the first time they're playing the playoffs. I don't think Chris Paul really likes LeBron James like that. I don't. They're both alphas. Chris Paul, and why do you think he's on so many teams? It's because he wants to be the alpha. Blake Griffin and Chris Paul, how did that go? James Harden and Chris Paul. Do you want to see the video where James Harden smacks his hand? Yeah, he was in Oklahoma City for a cup of coffee. That was supposed to be the rebuild year. Since Chris Paul does do good, and the teams do happen to make the playoffs, Oklahoma City was like, all right, well, I guess we have to delay the rebuild since we got this guy right here. And Chris Paul is a great basketball player. However, he's not going to be an NBA champion. Maybe if he joins Brooklyn Nets. But he's not an NBA champion. Maybe if he joins Los Angeles Lakers. I don't want to see that happen. I also don't think that LeBron James, who does get a say on who joins the Lakers, I don't see Pelinka coming up to LeBron and be like, hey, Chris Paul is available. Would you like for him to be on the team? I don't. Do you think LeBron will give him the thumbs up? I don't see that happening. He didn't do it to Carmelo Anthony.